I grew up, the son of a very prominent Harvard law professor who had been a meteorologist in World War II, flying over Japan back and forth, doing the weather forecasts. After the war, he discovered that those lone flights up over Japan by B-29 had taught the residents of Hiroshima that they could ignore that first early morning flight of a lone B-29 in the morning. So many thousands of additional people died in Hiroshima thanks to those morning flights. He came back from World War II, having lost many of his friends, thinking that violence was no way, violence and war were no way to solve problems, and so devoted his life to reducing the risk of conflict, not just to the study of stuff, but to trying to make a difference. So my brother and I grew up, both feeling we knew we had to grow up and become people who were making a difference in the world, but with no clue how to do it. So I decided to drive an ambulance in Somerville, Massachusetts, 3 miles from where I grew up, in the fancy part of Cambridge. And where I was driving the ambulance, kids were getting diseases like diabetes and seizure disorders, and that none of my classmates had, asthma. And so seeing this sharp disparity between what I got to experience growing up and what was happening with, basically neighbors, and seeing how terrible the health care they got was, led me to think, gosh, maybe there's something I could do, at the interface between healthcare and public policy that would where I could make a difference, and it would be far enough away from my father that thought I'd have my own identity. One of the things I go back to as I think about my 1.5 years on the ambulance was seeing really for the first time through the eyes of a patient what it felt like to be, a poor person of color going into a hospital where they did not feel valued or respected, and they felt fearful about what was going to happen to them there just because of their social position. Everyone who feels vulnerable and scared, and the ambulance really let me come into the emergency room with the eyes of a patient in ways that probably I wouldn't have otherwise had experienced.